What's going on, everyone? So welcome to another ranking video. This time I'm joined with Ryan Narcavage, who many of you will know from my Oscar predictions list, which, by the way, I was pretty spot on with that. You were close, but but this is the first time I'm having someone collaborate with a director's list. I've done Wes Anderson, David Lynch, David Fincher. As you guys probably know by clicking on the video, we're doing Guy Ritchie's movies. Now, he's done 11 theatrical/streaming movies. Now, we're not including any music videos, any short films or documentaries, none of that. It just says 11 theatrical movies, so we'll be going from 11 to 1, and what we're going to do is we'll start off with 11 to 6, and then we'll cut to you, and then you'll do 11 to 6, and then we'll go 5 to 1, with obviously 1 being our best. So, with all that expectations aside, let's get started. So, my number 11 is actually a movie that we saw together. That was Swept Away. Well, it certainly swept us away, let me tell you. I mean, that movie was terrible. Easily one of the worst of the 2000s. I am honestly surprised that Guy Ritchie did that movie. Except maybe it's because he was married to Madonna, which I guess there's a reason why they got a divorce, because I mean, probably that movie. I swear, that's probably the reason why they got a divorce. She was like, it's a good movie. And he's like, no, it's not a masterpiece. It's not got no gangsters in it. And it's just like, I don't know.
Didn't even want to fucking do this.
Yeah, like, I'm just saying, I think it's a theory that that's the reason why their marriage dissipated. Marriage Story 2, the Guy Ritchie story.
Oh, no.
Calling it right now.
I would watch that.
I would too, honestly. Number 10, though, is Revolver. So, much like a gun barrel, this movie just revolved out of my mind. I was telling you the other day, actually, is that I forgot to log this on Letterboxd, and so
like a week later.
Yeah, like a week later, I was like, oh yeah, I saw this, and I was like, I remember I gave it a 2 out of 5, and I was like, why? What was it? And I was like, oh yeah, it's forgettable. It's dissipated out of the wind. It's like, I don't know. It's a forgettable movie. It's not the worst thing I've seen, Swept Away, but it's not a good movie.
Not quite that level of.
Yeah, and that's why it's my number 10. But number 9 for me, it's King Arthur: Legend of the Sword. I was saying about Swept Away how I don't think Guy Ritchie should have directed that, but King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, I don't think he should have directed that either, because there are a couple moments, like fleeting moments, where you can see his style kind of work in the movie, but then
It's there sometimes.
Yeah, but then he's like, all right, so we're going to use the style for like 10 million of that, and then the 150 million we're going to add to the special effects. And I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of movies that use a lot of CGI, and it's very, very, very noticeable. I don't know, they're just like witches and sorcery, and it's just kind of like, what is going on? And it's like, it's not a good movie. I like the 2004 one with Keira Knightley and like Clive Owen. Like, that one's enjoyable, but I just feel like King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, I just thought it was a huge disappointment, but that's why it's my personal number 9. Number 8 is one that, I guess you could say it swept away audiences, being Disney-fied, and it's just like, a whole new world of being generic. That's number 8, Aladdin. Yeah, so you know how you look back and you're just kind of like, wow, I made a huge mistake? That was Aladdin for me. Like, looking back at my review, I'm like, why did I give that a 3 out of 5? I would easily give it a 2 out of 5 now. Like, I think Naomi Scott's fine in the movie, but I think the rest of the movie doesn't work really at all. And a lot of it's kind of like horrifying, like in terms of like some of the CGI, it's like, oh no. And it's like, I don't know, maybe they should have used the $200 million on like an original property. I don't know. But what do I know? They're probably going to make Aladdin 2 because it made $1 billion, or they're probably going to remake every Disney. I don't know.
Well, Bambi just got greenlit live action.
I heard about that.
Another Lion King probably.
Lion King 2. I hope Guy Ritchie continues doing like other movies. Like, I hope that this was just a phase of him where he's like, I want to please my kids, and it's just kind of like, all right, good, like you got it out of your system. So. But yeah, that's my number 8. Number 7 is Rock'n'Rolla. So Rock'n'Rolla, it was enjoyable. It wasn't great, but it was enjoyable for what it was going for. It was definitely a exercise in style, and like exercising is good and all. So I mean, I guess it's fine. But again, one of those movies where it's kind of in my memory, kind of not. It's like more middle of the road Guy Ritchie movie, I think. Then my number 6 is The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I haven't seen in like 5 years, but I remember enjoying it. It's kind of like a James Bond-esque movie. And, you have Armie Hammer and Henry Cavill in it. So Elizabeth Debicki's in it too.
Alicia Vikander.
Yeah, oh yeah, I almost forgot she was in that too. It's got a fine cast, and like the style is very good. The production design is really on top. I think it's definitely a very enjoyable movie, and I remember it being like a highlight of the summer of that summer.
So my number 11 is also Swept Away. Yeah, I can't get much worse than that. And if he ever makes a movie that bad again, I'm surprised he worked again after Swept Away. Like,
Honestly,
it's pretty amazing. But yeah, just abysmal. It's really fucking awful. But King Arthur is my number 10.
Oh wow.
But I mean, I do, and it's like painfully mediocre. And I did a double take too when I found out he was directing that one. When it first came out, I was like, really? Of all things, Guy Ritchie's moving to that now? Okay. I like Charlie Hunnam. He's really cool and he does a great job in the role, but there's just so many problems with it. And it is pretty boring, like you were saying, you were falling asleep for it.
Yeah.
It's too boring and too long for something that isn't really working to begin with. But number 9 would be Aladdin. I enjoyed Aladdin more than you did. It's entertaining if slight. Like, it's pretty forgettable. I agree that a lot of the CG doesn't quite work, but especially for something like a big budget Disney movie, like what else are you doing?
Give it to Will Smith.
I did like Will Smith as the genie. Surprisingly, he did his own thing to separate himself from the Robin Williams version. But Naomi Scott was fantastic. I thought she was great casting. But anyway, the number 8 I have is Revolver. It's like pretty. People don't like it at all. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting misfire. I enjoy it more than most people, but it's got a lot of problems. And one of the biggest issues is that you don't know what the fuck's going on for a lot of it. Like, there's so much that you're like, where are they going with this? But I like Statham in it. It was cool to see him doing something a little different. So yeah, it is what it is. Number 7 would be Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I thoroughly enjoyed. Great cast, production, design, costumes.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of fun. I love Henry Cavill and Alicia Vikander, all that stuff. So good throwback movie. And like you said, that summer it was a fun time.
It was.
And number 6, I got Sherlock Holmes. Game of Shadows.
Wow.
Which I like it. I really like the Sherlock Holmes movies, but I mean, compared to his like Guy Ritchie movies, that's like
It's understandable.
where I would land on that one. But it's a good sequel though. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, you'll definitely be seeing it in my obviously.
I would hope so.
Yeah, you'll see it on the top.
Miss that one.
I'm just gonna miss it, I actually it's funny though because I did screw up a review once and if people have seen my Scorsese one, I accidentally forgot Shutter Island. And like in the comment section, all people did was, "Where's Shutter Island?" I was like, "No." I was like,
Oh no.
and it's one of my most viewed videos. So I'm like, well, I'm not taking this down. So I'm like, here's the letterbox like of where it landed. So yeah, I won't let that happen again. But it's funny you said that. So my number 5, it's actually his most recent movie. Number 5 is The Gentleman. I enjoyed this movie. I think it's definitely a movie that has its flaws. I found some of the twists to be quite predictable. Some really worked. Others, it was like, I saw us a mile away. But I still enjoyed the movie. Like, I think that it's a return to form. I mean, we talked about Aladdin. I know you're sticking to your 3 out of 5 rating. To be fair, you've just seen it recently, so I gave it a 3 out of 5 when I first saw it. Now I give it like a 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
But The Gentleman, I think, is a good return to form because after doing Aladdin, it was like... It's like, he just saw money, So, I mean, I don't know. I like that The Gentleman is a return to form, and I hope to see more movies like that.
For sure.
Now, my number 4 is actually, I have the set. My number 4 is Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. So, I think that this movie is quite enjoyable. I might be biased just because I did see this a couple times in theaters. Like, holy cow, now it's been 9 years almost. It's a very enjoyable movie. I think that it definitely has its flaws, but I think that one of the things that holds it together is the chemistry between Jude Law and Robert Downey Jr. I think that their chemistry is incredible. Jared Harris as the villain is really good stuff, and and also that forest scene I think is really good stuff.
The what scene?
The forest scene,
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah, like-
really cool.
very enjoyable. I think I think the CGI in the movie also holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
So-
it looked really like it fit well in that
Grounded, yeah.
compared to like his other CG movies that don't work as.
It's
well.
like after that, it's like I just feel like all his movies with CGI just kind of went.
Which is interesting because he's getting more money for like Aladdin and stuff, so you think
Yeah.
it'd be top notch.
Yeah, not like I think he was given 110 million for Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows, but the CGI looks better than a $200+ million project like Aladdin. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I think that it's definitely it's like a calling card movie. Like, yeah, it takes from like Tarantino, and you could argue that Guy Ritchie's like a Tarantino knockoff. That's especially what the case was in his earlier movies. Like, that's what a lot of people were talking about in the 90s, how similar his style was. But I think he also showed with Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels with how he's able to differentiate, because yeah, sure, it's a mob movie, and yeah, sure, he uses like non-linear storytelling, but he does it in a way that's very unique because you don't understand what these characters are saying. Like, it's so like awesome
Yeah.
because it's like I don't know what's going on, but whatever's happening, it's cool. You know, it's not like Revolver where it's like I don't care. It's like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels has a lot of interesting characters, and the themes are also interesting. I feel like throughout, and I'm looking forward honestly to rewatching it.
Nice. It was a cool rewatch.
Yeah, I know. I know you were telling me you rewatched it. I just know it's right up there, like as one of his best.
Yeah, for sure.
Number 2 is actually my number 2 is what a lot of people would have as their number 1, but I have it as my number 2, and my number 2 is Snatch. This was actually my first gangster movie for a Guy Ritchie movie. Honestly, not gonna lie, that was the first one I saw. That, and then I saw Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and Snatch. I don't know what Brad Pitt was doing in that movie, but whatever he was doing, I really dug it. And I think that it's, man, I remember watching the movie at like 3 a.m. and I was like, what is going on? But I was enjoying it. I was like thoroughly enjoying it. I was like, I have no idea what's going on. Maybe it's because my brain cells go out the window when it gets late at night. But man, it was such a good movie though. And again, it's like his trademark style. Like when you watch the movie, all the Guy Ritchie-isms, it's in that movie.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
but here's the thing. My number one's a movie that a lot of people are going to balk at probably, but my number 1 is Sherlock Holmes, the first one. I saw Sherlock Holmes. That was my first Guy Ritchie movie, and it's not because of nostalgia. I'm not into all that nostalgia. It's because that was when I realized that I liked Guy Ritchie. I don't love him, but I liked his style. I liked what he was doing, because I feel like a lot of movies that are taking place during this time period, they're either really stuffy or filled with so much CGI that you don't even care, but he manages to make it both really interesting and also like period piece accurate in terms of costume designs and everything. Yeah, sure, there's some anachronisms for sure, but at the same time, I feel like he makes for a very interesting movie with the mystery itself and the chemistry between the actors.
Yeah.
And then Mark Strong is the villain, really strong villain, you could say. So, I mean, I personally really dig Sherlock Holmes, and I think it's a good calling card movie. And it's a movie everyone can really watch, like teenagers, adults can appreciate.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you want a stuffy Sherlock Holmes movies, not your movie. This movie's trying to be entertaining, and it succeeded, I think.
Oh, for sure. So my number 5 would be Sherlock Holmes. I'm sorry to say.
I walk that.
I agree with everything you said about it, and I do really enjoy it a whole lot. When I first saw it in theaters with my dad, actually, it was a really cool experience because we weren't expecting it to be as good as it was.
Yeah.
It was a nice surprise, and it really, like both movies, the brightest spot is the chemistry between Downey and Jude Law. It's flawless. It's really good stuff. So yeah, number 5 would be Sherlock Holmes. Number 4 would be Rock and Roller for me. I really, I hadn't seen it in a few years. I just rewatched it leading up to this.
Yeah.
Like I did with a lot of this stuff actually. And not only does it hold up for me, I enjoyed it more than I even remember. Like I really thought it was great.
I can respect that.
Yeah, it's like back into the he went from like Swept Away and Revolver to people thinking, oh, he was a 2-hit fucking wonder, to back to Rock and Roll, and it's like, okay, this is Guy Ritchie. Like this is what he
That.
is about. And Tom Hardy, I'm a big Tom Hardy fan. It's cool to see him in that now that he's like
Big, yeah.
much more popular. So yeah, I really like Rock and Roll a whole lot. Number 3 would be The Gentleman, which I know is I know, and it might go down. I just saw it 2 nights in a row. I saw it with you guys, and then
Yeah, I saw your letterbox.
Yeah, I think it's like a hype thing maybe because he's been gone for it's 11 years since Rock and Roll, or no, math, it's 12 years. Rock and Roll was 2008, so.
Oh yeah, it has been.
So 12 years I've been waiting for him to like get off the blockbuster train, and it just felt good, man. It was enjoyable. The cast is great. Colin Farrell is like the Brad Pitt character from Snatch, where you just want more of him because he's so fucking good.
Oh, I agree.
But yeah, Gentlemen, really enjoy it. I don't know if it'll lower over time, but it's where it's at right now. Number 2 is Lock, Stock, 2 Smoky Barrels.
Stuff.
For a debut, especially, like for him to come on the scene as strong as he did with that, I was like, damn, this is quite a directorial debut for him to be coming on so strong. And great cast. It's cool seeing like Jason Statham back then compared to now, because he was just like a regular dude. He wasn't invincible and like smash. And I love seeing him kick ass, but yeah, it was good stuff. Number 1 is Snatch. My favorite Guy Ritchie movie of all time is Snatch, for sure.
I figured, yeah.
It's basically, he took everything that worked about Lock, Stock and just put it up to 11. Like, I love it so much. It's the perfect, for what it is, it's the perfect movie to me. Brad Pitt is perfect in it. He's so good.
He's so good.
And to think that he wasn't even going to play that part, like Guy Ritchie wrote it into the script just to have Brad Pitt as a role, because Brad Pitt couldn't get the English accent down. That was the big issue. Like,
oh, I didn't even know that.
yeah, so he like wrote him into the script as like the Pikey, basically, as they keep calling him. But and you watch the Blu-ray, it's funny. He is so like, you can't decipher what he's saying so often that the subtitles sometimes skip over things. Like they don't even put subtitles.
I forget. Did Snatch come out before or after Usual Suspects?
Snatch is...
Because I know Usual Suspects did that too. Benicio del Toro was like, wait a minute, for real, you know? You know,
I think,
I'm curious.
yeah, I didn't even think
I'm
of
like,
that,
well, that's the media. But I was thinking, because there's two gangster movies that are like post Tarantino. You know,
I think Snatch is 2000 and Usual Suspects is still in the 90s.
95. I was just curious. I was like, see, because when I saw Snatch, I was thinking about Usual Suspects with that whole thing,
Yeah.
and I was kind of like, okay, maybe they came out around the same time, and they were both just kind of like, you know, trying it out. I did not know that about Brad Pitt, though, how he couldn't get the English accent. That was pretty smart, though.
Yeah, really. But I mean,
Here I thought it was a homage to Usual Suspects. You know,
and it worked out well because Brad Pitt's one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. Like, he's awesome in it.
He's really good.
One of my favorite like supporting roles, other than like True Romance, is Floyd the Stoner. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Snatch, number 1.
Yeah, he overall has a very interesting filmography. Like, you look at it and you're just kind of like, it's all over the place. But he has those scenes, though, where he tries to have it where it's like the sound mixing and the editing and just the acting, it all compiles into, where he has those scenes where it's just like a lot of cross-editing, too.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, characters will be making a plan and they'll be talking about it and then you'll visually see it.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that style of filmmaking. I also think that he's like a teenager in a filmmaking program. Like, he wants it to be very fast-paced and rapid. And I guess that's why it's so interesting when he does like those blockbuster movies and they're dull. So it's like,
yeah, it's like taking the life force out of fucking Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, it's.
But it's interesting that he came on so strong with Lock, Stock, and Snatch, and then he like had Swept Away and Revolver, which are two people really hate on them a lot. So
Yeah.
What I forgot to mention about when I was talking about my ranking of Rock and Rolla was when I rewatched it, I forgot that he ends it basically saying like the Avengers movies, like these characters will return and whatever. He kind of did that, like these guys will return for the new or the real Rock and Rolla, he called it, and I forgot since it's been so long that was a thing. But hopefully now that he's back, hopefully on the Guy Ritchie wavelength, hopefully he'll
follow up The Gentleman, or soon he'll make a sequel to that. I would love to see a sequel to it. Good stuff.
I personally, as our friend Marv would say, with the box office numbers, the thing is, it didn't really make a lot of money, like when it first came out, and I think that's why they didn't make a sequel.
Okay.
Or it could also be that it wasn't critically acclaimed. Like, but that's the thing about Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie really, his movies aren't critically acclaimed. Like early on, yes, but then he had like a lot of mixed movies. Like he just has such an extreme style. Like I feel like you're either on board or you're not,
Yeah.
and I always say this with my ranking videos. There are certain directors that I will watch everything with them, and Guy Ritchie was one of them. Like, as soon as I see a Guy Ritchie movie, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch it because I feel like he's a director that he has his own voice, and I really like that.
Yeah.
So I just, again, he's like a teenager just with all the gadgets and everything, and I don't know. I'm just glad that he is back on track with The Gentleman, but
Same here. It's a welcome return for him.
yeah, I agree. It was a thoroughly enjoyable movie, and I overall think he's a director. Like I said, I'm looking forward to see what he has next in store with us, and he has a lot of talent. Again, I like his style. I like what he has to offer. Overall, I'm curious, very curious.
Yeah. Hopefully he kind of doesn't pick up any Disney calls or anything. I mean, I'm sure he would.
Bambi, maybe.
Oh, can you imagine Bambi by Guy Ritchie?
Oh my goodness, could you imagine just like Brad Pitt with the Cockney accent? It's from the perspective of like Bambi, like his like the head, it's like it's like crossing the corners. Because you remember like King Arthur, where it's like they're like running the corners and it's like dum dum dum. It's like that weird editing style that he does, but it's
Yeah.
awesome. Imagine that with like Bambi as he's like running, like dum 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 dum. I actually like. I feel like we should call Disney and be like, listen, Bambi. Guy Ritchie should direct that. I feel like, but let him have his style. Like Aladdin had that one scene where they actually let him like freestyle his style, but like everything else was kind of like, all right, I am the robot Guy Ritchie. Let us move the camera, and it's like this isn't working.
Yeah.
So
I hope I'd rather him go like back onto his own thing, but
yeah.
I mean, if he does Bambi in this totally hypothetical scenario.
Yeah, honestly, you're not wrong. What I was gonna say though is that I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts though? Like overall, like is he one of your favorite directors or?
Not one of my favorites. No, I thoroughly enjoy him as a director, and like Snatch is one of my favorite movies of all time. And there's a lot of his movies that are, for me, infinitely rewatchable, but there's too much of like it's too inconsistent. Like there's that whole over a decade period of stuff that I couldn't give a shit about. But from the beginning and like further down the road, I'm into it. Well, starting with The Gentleman, hopefully moving forward. But
it also goes into my thing about he's like a teenager. It's like teenagers,
Only my teenagers are moody, you know?
It's like, well, yeah, I guess if teenagers are bipolar, then it's like, it makes sense because it's like Guy Ritchie. It's like, hey, I decided to make a good movie. Then it's like, hey, I decided to be a sellout, a hack crawl. So I'm curious to see, like I said, what he has, coming in stores up next. But I wanted to say thank you very much for being on my channel again.
thanks for having me again.
Yeah, no, it was my pleasure. Guys, follow Ryan on Letterboxd. He already has like 1 billion followers,
Not true.
but a couple thousand. But I'll leave his description in the comment section down below for his Letterboxd as well as mine. And guys, what's your ranking of Guy Ritchie's movies? All 11. If you haven't seen all 11, that's fine. Just rank them in the comment section down below. And who do you guys think we should rank next? Comment section down below. And I know that some people have been like, oh, Lars von Trier. It takes a while. I'm just saying, I know I've said it in pretty much every ranking list, but it takes a while. That's a high order, so bear with me on that. So, but up the exposition, guys, again, thank you very much for watching. Ryan, as always, it was a pleasure. And
Always.
yeah, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.